Welcome to Simple English Sessions.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today, we're going to take a really deep look, a deep dive into a very, very famous book.
That's right. It's called 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson.
Exactly. And our goal here, our mission, is to make these, well, sometimes quite big ideas really easy to understand.
We want to help you learn new things, important things, and also help you improve your English along the way.
Yeah, definitely. Have you ever, wanted to learn something new, but maybe felt it was too complicated or would take too long? Well, this deep dive is definitely for you. We're going to break down these 12 rules, get the really important stuff out.
It's a good way to think about it. Books are kind of like a treasure chest.
A treasure chest? How do you mean?
Well, a treasure chest is, a box where valuable things like gold or jewels are kept safe.
Okay, I see.
In this case, the book is the chest, and it's full of valuable knowledge, ideas gathered over maybe many, many years by really smart people.
Right, so instead of spending years trying to figure things out all by yourself.
Exactly. You can learn from these experts, from their experiences, in just a short time by reading. Or, like today, by listening to our deep dive. We'll give you the key ideas simply and clearly.
Okay, so let's dig into that a bit more. Why are books so powerful? We often say they're one of the best investments you can make.
And when we say investments, what does that mean?
Good question. An investment means putting your time or maybe your money into something now.
That will help you a lot in the future.
Exactly. It brings future benefits. Books are like that for your mind, for your life. You invest time reading, and you get knowledge back.
And it's not just any knowledge. Books often contain decades of experience.
Decades. Let's clarify that. A decade is 10 years, right?
That's right, 10 years. So decades means many tens of years, maybe 20, 30, 40 years of learning and experience from really successful, really smart people.
Wow. So you get all that wisdom, all those lessons learned in just a few hours or days of reading.
Instead of spending years, maybe making the same mistakes yourself, trying to figure out life on your own, it's incredibly efficient.
It really is. Think about reading this book, 12 Rules for Life. It might take someone, 10 days? Maybe 15 if they read slowly.
Yeah, easily. It's a dense book.
But here in this deep dive, you're going to get all the really important knowledge. We're aiming for simple, strong, and easy to understand.
And this isn't just, trivia. This knowledge can actually change how you think.
How you act.
And even how you live your life. It gives you new ways to look at things.
That connects to something really crucial, doesn't it? The value of time.
Oh, absolutely. Time is maybe the most valuable thing we have in life. You can't buy more of it.
Rich people, poor people, everyone gets the same 24 hours each day.
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
The big difference is how you use that time. That really decides your future.
And this deep dive is one way to use your time well, especially if you're learning English.
How so? Tell us more about that connection.
Well, when you engage with these kinds of powerful books, these ideas, you naturally learn new words. You have to understand them.
Right. You expand your vocabulary.
Yes, and you start to understand deep ideas. These are important thoughts that make you think seriously about life, about yourself.
And it helps you think in English too, doesn't it?
What does that mean exactly? Think in English.
It means you start forming your thoughts directly in English in your head.
Instead of thinking in your first language and then translating?
Exactly. It's a huge step in becoming fluent. So listening to this, understanding these rules.
It improves your vocabulary, the words you know, your speaking skills get better because you hear how ideas are expressed.
And definitely your confidence. You feel more able to talk about important topics in English.
Okay, let's jump into the very first rule. Rule 1. Stand up straight with your shoulders back. Now, on the surface, this sounds, simple, like something your mom tells you. Is it just about good posture?
But it's much more than that. First, what is posture?
Right. Posture is simply the way you hold your body when you stand up or sit down.
Good. And Peterson's point is that standing up straight isn't just about looking neat. It connects to something deep inside us, something almost biological.
Biological? Like how animals behave?
Sort of, yes. Think about how animals show dominance or confidence. Your posture sends a message, not just to others, but to your own brain.
What kind of message?
It's a message about feeling confident, being strong, respecting yourself. When you stand tall, shoulders back, you're telling the world and yourself, I'm strong, I'm capable, I'm ready for challenges.
That's interesting. Is there any, science to back that up? Does how we stand actually change how we feel?
Oh, absolutely. Body language research shows this clearly. How you hold your body changes your internal feelings, even your brain chemistry.
Really? So if I slouch, what does slouch mean?
Slouch means you bend your back and shoulders forward, kind of collapsing in on yourself.
Okay, so if I slouch and maybe keep my head down, don't look people in the eye, and plus it's inside.
Well, if you avoid eye contact that's looking directly into someone's eyes and you slouch, your body sends signals that can make you feel weaker, less confident, maybe more anxious.
Anxious, like worried or nervous.
Exactly. Worried, nervous, less sure of yourself. Your body is basically telling your brain to feel that way.
Wow. But the opposite is also true.
Yes. If you stand tall, look at people directly in the eyes, walk with confidence, your brain actually releases chemicals that make you feel more confident, more powerful.
And how do other people react to that?
People tend to notice. They generally give more respect, more attention to someone who looks strong, confident, and, in control.
What does in control mean here?
It means looking like you can manage things well, like you're handling yourself in the situation effectively.
Okay, let's make this really practical. Imagine a job interview. 2 people apply.
All right. Candidate 1 walks in. They're slouching, bent back, looking down mostly. They don't make much eye contact, and their voice is quiet, maybe shaky.
What does the interviewer probably think?
The interviewer, maybe without even realizing it, might think, this person doesn't seem very confident. Maybe they're not up to the job.
Okay, now candidate 2, how do they walk in?
Candidate 2 walks in standing tall, shoulders back. They smile, make good, strong eye contact, and speak clearly and confidently.
The impression is totally different.
Completely. The interviewer likely thinks, wow, this person seems strong, smart, and capable. Capable means they seem like they have the ability to do the job well.
So the question for you listening is, who do you think is more likely to get the job?
It's often candidate 2, isn't it? And it might not just be about what they know. A lot of it is how they carry themselves, that confidence they project.
So how can people listening start applying this rule right now?
It can start tomorrow morning. Stand in front of a mirror. Really stand there.
Okay.
Take a deep breath. Pull your shoulders back. Lift your head. Look yourself in the eye and say something positive. Maybe, I am strong. I am confident. I can handle anything today.
Saying it out loud?
Or even just thinking it strongly. And then when you walk outside, be aware of your posture. Head up. Look people in the eyes, don't stare, but make contact and maybe offer a little smile.
And what about when you feel scared or insecure?
Insecure means not feeling safe or confident. When you feel that way, don't let it make you shrink.
Shrink, like become smaller.
Exactly. Don't physically make yourself smaller or act smaller. Own your space. Stand tall anyway.
It sounds simple, but you're saying this small change can really make a difference.
A huge difference. It can change your confidence levels, how others interact with you, and potentially even your success in life. It starts with how you stand.
Okay. Moving on to rule number 2. This one sounds a bit different. Treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping.
It points out something quite interesting about human behavior.
Which is?
Most people are actually better at taking care of other people than they are taking care of themselves. Think about it. You have friends, you give advice, you support your family.
Yeah, that's true. We often go out of our way for others.
But then when it comes to their own lives, their own problems or needs, people often neglect themselves.
Neglect. What does that mean exactly?
To neglect something or someone means you don't give them enough care or attention. You ignore their needs.
So people neglect themselves.
Often, yes. Think about this. If you had a friend who was really sick, or maybe a child you were responsible for.
You'd make sure they saw a doctor, got medicine, rested, felt loved. Right.
Exactly. You do everything you could. But now, think about when you're feeling stressed or tired or you have problems. Do you give yourself that same level of kindness, that same care?
Probably not always. We tend to push through, ignore it, maybe even criticize ourselves for feeling bad.
That's the core of it. Many people ignore their own needs. They don't show themselves the same respect they show others. And Peterson suggests this is why people get stuck.
Stuck how?
Stuck in bad habits, stuck in toxic relationships.
What makes a relationship toxic?
A toxic relationship is one that is very unhealthy, harmful, maybe emotionally damaging. It pulls you down instead of supporting you.
Okay. So people stay in bad habits, toxic relationships.
And they struggle with self-doubt. That's the feeling of not being sure about your own abilities or your own worth. They don't treat themselves like someone worth helping.
Let's use an example. Imagine your close friend is really going through a hard time.
Okay. They feel lost. They don't believe in themselves anymore. They're thinking about giving up on their dream.
What would you do? Would you insult them? Tell them they're useless. Say they'll never succeed.
Of course not. That would be horrible. You'd support them, encourage them, tell them they can do it, help them find a way back up.
Right. But now, flip it. When you fail at something or make a mistake, what's your first reaction? What do you say to yourself?
Many people immediately get angry at themselves. They call themselves a failure, think, I'm not good enough, I always mess up. It's often much harsher than how we treat a friend.
So what's the solution Peterson suggests?
It's actually quite straightforward, though maybe not easy to do consistently. Start treating yourself like you are someone you genuinely love and care about, someone you are responsible for helping.
How does that look in practice?
Well, start with the basics. Take care of your physical health. Eat well, get enough sleep, move your body, exercise. These are acts of self-care.
And mental health.
Protect it fiercely. Stay away from people who drain you or are negative, those toxic influences. Avoid places or situations that make you feel bad. Break bad habits that harm you.
And also invest in yourself. We talked about investment earlier.
Yes. Spend time and effort improving yourself. Read books that help you grow. Learn new skills that make you more capable. Work on building your confidence.
And the result of doing all this, of treating yourself with this kind of responsible care.
Peterson argues that when you start treating yourself with this level of love and respect, your whole life can begin to change for the better. You build a stronger foundation for everything else.
Right. Let's look at rule number 3. This one is about relationships. Make friends with people who want the best for you.
This rule is based on a really fundamental idea.
Which is?
That the people you spend your time with, your friends, your social environment, they have a huge impact on shaping your future. Your environment is just the people and conditions around you.
So the company you keep really matters.
Immensely. If you constantly surround yourself with people who are negative, maybe lazy, or even toxic, remember, those harmful people, they will inevitably pull you down.
How do they do that?
Their negativity can become your negativity. Their lack of motivation can make you less motivated. They might even actively discourage you from trying new things.
But the opposite is also true.
Yes, if you spend time with people who are ambitious.
What does ambitious mean?
Ambitious means wanting to achieve a lot, having strong goals and desires for success.
Okay, so if you're with ambitious, supportive, positive people.
They lift you up. You'll grow.
Oh.
Their energy encourages you. Their support helps you through tough times.
It makes sense. The way we think is definitely influenced by the conversations we have, the attitudes around us.
Absolutely. There's a saying, success is contagious.
Contagious? Like catching a cold.
Sort of. Contagious means something spreads easily from person to person. Here, it means if your friends are working hard and aiming high, that positive energy and drive can spread to you. You'll feel more motivated too.
And the negative side, toxic people.
They do the opposite. They drain your energy. They make you doubt yourself. They might focus on problems instead of solutions.
Okay, let's make this concrete. Imagine 2 different groups of friends.
All right, group A. These friends are always complaining about something, their job, the weather, other people. They love gossiping.
What's gossiping?
Gossiping is talking about other people's private lives, often in an unkind or critical way.
Okay, so group A complains, gossips, and always seems to have excuses for why they aren't doing better in life.
Right. And they might even tell you, oh, don't bother trying that new thing. It's too hard, or you'll probably fail. They don't really work on themselves.
Now group B, what are they like?
Group B is different. They encourage you. They push you in a good way to be better. When you succeed at something, they genuinely celebrate with you. They're happy for you.
So think about it, listening right now. Which group do you think will actually help you grow and achieve more in your life?
It's pretty clear, isn't it? It has to be group B. The choice of friends is really important.
So how do we apply this rule? What actions should we take?
The main action is to consciously choose to surround yourself with positive, ambitious people who genuinely support your growth.
That might mean making some hard choices.
It might. It could mean spending less time with, or even ending friendships that consistently bring negativity and drag you down. That can be difficult, but necessary.
What else?
Actively seek out positive influences. Find mentors. These are experienced people who can give you good advice and guidance. Read books by inspiring people.
And pay attention to your environment.
Yes. Try to be in places, physical or even online communities, that inspire you, that make you feel motivated to do good things and be your best self.
There's a famous saying about this, isn't there?
Yes, a very powerful one. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Wow. That really makes you think.
It does. So choose those 5 people. Choose all your close connections very wisely.
Okay, rule number 4. This one feels incredibly relevant today. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today.
This hits on a huge issue, especially with social media being everywhere.
Exactly. We live in a world where it feels like everyone is constantly comparing themselves to others. You scroll online, you see pictures.
Pictures of people traveling to amazing places, buying expensive cars, looking incredibly successful and happy.
And what happens? You look at that, and then you look at your own life, and you might feel, well, like a failure.
Yeah, that thought creeps in. Why am I not as successful as them? Why isn't my life that perfect?
And Peterson says this comparison is actually a really big problem.
It's a huge reason why people feel unhappy and not motivated. Motivated means having a strong desire or reason to do something. Comparison can kill that motivation.
Why is comparing yourself to others so bad? What's the fundamental issue?
Because when you compare yourself to others, you're focusing on totally the wrong thing. Your attention is misdirected.
Misdirected how?
Instead of looking at your own progress, your own movement forward, your own improvements.
You're looking at someone else's journey.
Exactly. Someone else's life path, which is completely different from yours. They have different starting points, different challenges, different luck, different everything. It's not a fair or useful comparison.
So this rule gives us a different target for comparison.
Yes. The only person you should ever compare yourself to is yourself, specifically your past self. The real question isn't, am I doing better than that person online? The real question is, am I better than the person I was yesterday?
Let's illustrate this with 2 different ways people approach life.
Okay. Person 1 wakes up, grabs their phone, starts scrolling social media. They see people with seemingly perfect bodies, huge houses, millions of followers.
How do they feel?
They start feeling bad about themselves. Their motivation for the day drops. They think, what's the point? I'll never be that successful. They get discouraged.
Now, person 2, what do?
Person 2, instead of looking outwards, looks inwards. They compare themselves to who they were before. They ask, did I improve even a little bit today? Am I learning something new? Am I moving forward even just one small step?
And the results of that focus.
Person 2 is much more likely to grow, improve, and eventually become successful because their focus is on their own journey, their own controllable actions and progress.
This applies so well to learning English, doesn't it?
Oh, perfectly. Let's take 2 students learning English.
Okay.
Student 1 watches YouTube videos of incredibly fluent speakers, maybe native speakers talking very fast. They listen and think, wow, I'll never speak like them. My English is terrible.
What happens to their motivation?
They feel discouraged. That means they lose confidence or hope. They might stop practicing or even give up learning altogether because the comparison feels overwhelming.
Now, student 2, how do they approach it?
Student 2 compares themselves to their past self. They think, okay, yesterday I only knew 10 new words, but today I learned 5 more. That's progress. Or, last month I couldn't even make a full sentence, but today I managed to speak 2 whole sentences in class.
That feels much more positive.
It is. They feel motivated by their own improvement, no matter how small. They keep learning, keep practicing, and over time they actually become fluent. The difference is huge.
So one focuses on others and feels bad. The other focuses on self-improvement and feels motivated.
Exactly. So how can you apply this in your life starting today?
That's a practical step.
Maybe every evening, take just a minute to write down one small thing you did better today than you did yesterday, or one thing you learned. Acknowledge your own progress.
And stop the other comparison.
Yes. Make a conscious effort to stop wasting time and energy comparing your real complex life to the curated, often unrealistic images you see on social media. Remember, their journey isn't your journey.
Focus on getting just a little bit better each day.
That's the key. Aim for maybe just 1% improvement every day. It sounds small, but those tiny improvements add up incredibly over time. They compound.
And the feeling changes.
Completely. When you focus on your own growth, you stop feeling jealous or inadequate. Instead, you start feeling motivated, powerful, and maybe even unstoppable.
Unstoppable, like nothing can stop you.
Exactly. Because your progress depends on you, not on comparing yourself to anyone else.
Okay, rule number 5. The title is, do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. Now, this might sound like it's only for parents.
It does sound that way initially, but Peterson expands the meaning much further. It's not just about raising kids. It's fundamentally about self-discipline.
Self-discipline, what does that mean?
Self-discipline means controlling your own actions, your feelings, your habits. It's about managing yourself effectively.
Okay. So how does the children part relate?
Well, Peterson argues that a big mistake some parents make is not teaching their children discipline. They let things slide.
Like what sort of things?
Like if a child constantly has tantrums.
What are tantrums?
Those are uncontrolled outbursts of anger, often in young children, crying, shouting, kicking.
Right. So if a child has tantrums or disrespects people and never faces any consequences.
Consequences are the results or effects of their actions, especially negative ones. If they never face consequences,
They don't learn.
they don't learn boundaries. They grow up potentially struggling as adults. They might not know how to control their emotions, how to work hard when things get tough, or how to handle criticism constructively.
Okay, I see the parenting angle. But how does this apply to us as adults managing our own lives?
That's the crucial link. This rule is also profoundly about how you discipline yourself.
How so?
Think about it. If you just do whatever you feel like doing in the moment, with no self-control, no thought for the future, you will eventually face problems. You're essentially being an undisciplined child to yourself.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Imagine if you never managed to wake up on time for important things, or you always procrastinate.
Procrastinate means delaying or putting off something important you should be doing, right?
Exactly. So you procrastinate, you waste hours scrolling on your phone, you never exercise even though you know you should, you don't learn new skills that could help your career.
You're letting yourself do things that aren't good for you long term.
Precisely. If you keep allowing yourself to engage in habits that you know are bad for your future, you will eventually create a life. Well, a life you dislike living. You won't respect the person you've allowed yourself to become.
Let's try an example with two young men again.
Okay, young man 1. He never really learned self-discipline growing up. His parents didn't correct his bad habits much.
What happens when he's an adult?
He gets a job, but he's often late. He finds it hard to handle stress. Maybe he gets angry easily over small things. He tends to avoid responsibility and blames other people when things go wrong.
And the result?
Because of these ingrained habits, he might lose his job, struggle financially, that means struggle with money, and end up feeling pretty unhappy. His own actions, his lack of self-discipline, created a life he doesn't like.
Okay, now young man 2.
Young man 2. His parents taught him self-discipline. He learned the importance of routines, maybe waking up early. He learned to take responsibility for his mistakes. He practices controlling his emotions, not overreacting to every little problem.
What does his life look like?
He likely gets better opportunities because he's reliable and handles challenges well. He builds stronger relationships. He creates a life that he actually enjoys and feels proud of. His discipline pays off.
So, for people listening, how can we apply this rule to ourselves?
Start by asking yourself honestly, what habits am I allowing in my life right now that are likely to cause problems for me in the future? Be truthful with yourself. Develop self-control over those things. It's hard work. If you know something is bad for you, too much junk food, too much screen time, avoiding difficult tasks, make a conscious effort to stop doing it, or at least reduce it. Build better habits.
Does who you spend time with matter here too?
Definitely. Try to be around people who encourage discipline and self-improvement. It helps reinforce your own efforts.
So the final thought is about habits.
Yes. Your life today is largely the result of your past habits. Your life tomorrow will be the result of your habits today. So make sure you're building habits that create a future you will actually love and respect.
Okay, we're up to rule number 6 now. This one is quite direct. Set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world.
This tackles a very common human behavior.
Which is?
Blaming the world. Complain about external factors. It's easy to point fingers, isn't it?
Yeah, people complain about the government, their boss, society, life being unfair.
All the time. But Peterson's point is quite challenging. Before you try to fix the big problems out there in the world, you need to focus on fixing the problems within your own life first. Put your own house in order.
Your own house, meaning your personal life, your responsibilities, your own issues.
Exactly. The logic is simple, really. If your own life is a mess, maybe disorganized, full of problems you haven't dealt with, how can you realistically expect to fix anything bigger? How can you have the clarity or the credibility?
So it's about shifting from just complaining to taking action, starting with yourself.
Precisely. It's easy to say life isn't fair, or society is broken, or those rich people have all the luck. But instead of just complaining, Peterson suggests you should ask, okay, what's not in order in my life? What problems do I need to fix first?
Because complaining doesn't actually change anything.
Not really. It might make you feel slightly better for a moment, maybe. But taking action, starting with cleaning up your own life, that has the power to change things, at least for you.
Let's use our two friends example again.
Good idea. Friend 1. He's always complaining. I don't have enough money. Rich people just get lucky breaks. The government should do more to help us.
But what's he actually doing?
Well, that's the thing. He doesn't work on improving his job skills. He doesn't try to learn about managing money better. Maybe he spends his free time watching TV or playing video games all day. He complains, but takes no action on his own behalf.
Okay, now friend 2.
Friend 2 faces challenges too. But instead of just complaining, he focuses on fixing his own situation. He actively learns new skills to get a better job or promotion. He works hard. He educates himself about money. He takes responsibility for his choices.
He stays disciplined and focused on his own sphere of influence.
Exactly. And what do you think happens after a few years?
Friend 2 probably achieves some success, improves his situation, feels better about his life.
Right. While friend 1 is likely still in the same place, maybe even worse off, still complaining about the same things.
So for people listening, what's the practical takeaway? How do we apply this?
The core message is, stop blaming the outside world. Look inwards first. Ask yourself, what can I do right now to improve my own situation? What part of my house needs cleaning up?
So focus on personal cleanup before global critique.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
Before you complain about the state of the world, fix your own life first. Address your own bad habits, your own disorganization, maybe your own negative way of thinking, your mindset.
What's mindset?
Your mindset is your established set of attitudes or way of thinking about things. Is it positive, negative, growth-oriented? Fix.
Okay. So fix your habits, your mindset, take responsibility.
Take full responsibility for your own actions, your decisions, your life. The moment you stop blaming the world and start working diligently on improving yourself,
Your life starts to change.
dramatically,
Yeah.
you take back control. You start making real progress. That's the power of setting your own house in order first.
All right, moving on to rule number 7. This one sounds quite deep. Pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient.
It addresses a core human tendency. We often want the easy way.
The path of least resistance.
Exactly. People often look for shortcuts, for quick rewards, for what psychologists call instant gratification.
Instant gratification. Can you explain that?
Sure, instant gratification means getting pleasure or satisfaction right away, immediately, without having to wait or work for it, like choosing candy now instead of saving for a bigger goal later.
Okay. But this rule tells us to avoid that.
It tells us that true, lasting success and fulfillment don't usually come from the easy path. They come from pursuing things that are meaningful.
Meaningful. What does that mean in this context?
Meaningful means something that is important, valuable, and gives your life purpose. It often involves responsibility, maybe even sacrifice or difficulty.
As opposed to things that are just expedient. What's expedient?
Expedient means doing what is convenient or easy in the short term, maybe to solve a problem quickly, but it might not be the best or most moral choice in the long run. It's choosing the easy path over the right or meaningful path.
So why is pursuing the meaningful, often harder path so important?
Because, well, many people want the rewards without the effort, don't they?
Like wanting to be rich without working hard.
Or wanting to be fit without exercising, or wanting to speak English fluently without practicing consistently.
Yeah, that doesn't usually work.
Life generally doesn't work that way. The things that truly matter, the achievements that bring deep satisfaction, almost always require patience.
Patience, the ability to wait calmly without getting upset.
Right, and they require dedication.
Which means strong effort and commitment.
Yes, and sustained effort over time. Meaningful things are usually built, not found.
Let's picture two paths again.
Okay. Path 1. This path looks easy, smooth sailing, no big struggles, no pain, no real challenges. Seems appealing, right?
Oh yeah, sounds nice and comfortable.
But what's at the end of that easy path? Often there's nothing truly valuable, no significant personal growth, no major success, just wasted time, maybe regret.
Okay, now path 2.
Path 2 looks difficult. It's uphill. It clearly requires discipline, learning new things, putting in real effort, being patient when results don't come immediately.
Sounds tough. But what's at the end of this path?
At the end of the meaningful, difficult path lies the potential for great success, deep fulfillment.
Fulfillment, what's that?
Fulfillment is that feeling of deep happiness and satisfaction you get when you achieve something important or live according to your values.
So great success, fulfillment, and happiness are on the hard path.
Often, yes. But most people choose the easy path because they want those quick results, that instant gratification. It's the people who choose the harder, meaningful path who often achieve true greatness and lasting satisfaction.
Let's apply this to learning English again.
Perfect example. Student A takes the easy way, maybe watches short, fun videos, but never actually practices speaking. Skips the difficult grammar lessons, never pushes themselves out of their comfort zone.
What happens after a year?
They're probably still struggling, still finding it hard to have a real conversation in English.
Now, student B.
Student B chooses the meaningful, though harder, path. They practice speaking every day, even if it's uncomfortable. They read challenging books or articles. They speak even when they know they'll make mistakes. They don't give up when it gets tough.
And after a year?
They're likely speaking much more fluently, much more confidently. They put in the meaningful effort, and they got the meaningful result.
So how do we apply this rule in our lives?
First, stop looking for those magic shortcuts to success. They usually don't exist, or they don't lead anywhere worthwhile. Focus on real, sustainable growth and long-term achievement.
Ask yourself a question before making choices.
Yes, ask. Is this choice I'm about to make genuinely meaningful? Will it contribute to my long-term goals or values? Or is it just the easy, expedient option right now?
And cultivate patience.
Understand that great things take time and consistent effort. Be patient with the process and keep working towards what truly matters to you.
So the conclusion is,
Real success isn't about finding hacks or shortcuts. It's about having the courage and discipline to choose what is meaningful, even, and maybe especially, when it's difficult.
okay, rule number 8 is very direct. Tell the truth, or at least don't lie.
This confronts a behavior that many people engage in, perhaps more often than they realize: lying.
Why do people lie?
For many reasons. Sometimes out of fear of the consequences of the truth. Sometimes to avoid responsibility. Sometimes to try and impress others or make themselves look better.
But Peterson argues this is very damaging.
Extremely damaging. He suggests that every time you lie, even small lies, you're actually harming yourself, undermining your own life, chipping away at your integrity.
So the rule teaches that honesty is fundamental.
Yes, honesty is the foundation, the strong base on which you build things for a successful and confident life. Without honesty, the whole structure is weak.
Why is being honest, especially with ourselves, so important?
Because if you can't be honest, even with yourself, you can never build genuine self-respect. You can't develop a strong character.
What do we mean by character?
Your character refers to your moral qualities, your integrity, how you behave ethically. Honesty is central to good character.
And what about the long-term effects of lying?
Lies might seem to make things easier in the moment, a quick fix. But in the long run, they almost always create more problems. They lead to stress, keeping track of lies, damaged relationships, and often eventual failure when the truth comes out.
So success relies on trust.
Absolutely. In life, in work, in relationships, success is built on trust. And trust is built on good character and, crucially, honesty.
Let's use an example in a workplace again. 2 people in a company.
Okay, person A. They are consistently honest. If they make a mistake, they own up to it, they admit it. They tell the truth even when it's difficult or might make them look bad initially.
What's the result of that?
Over time, people learn to trust person A completely. They know this person is reliable.
Reliable means you can depend on them, you can count on them.
Exactly. They are seen as trustworthy and having integrity.
Now, person B.
Person B often lies. If they make a mistake, maybe they try to blame someone else. They might exaggerate their achievements or create fake stories to make themselves look good.
What happens to trust in this case?
It evaporates. People learn quickly that they can't trust person B's word. They become suspicious.
So who is likely to be more successful in the long run?
Almost certainly person A. Trustworthiness and integrity are incredibly valuable assets in any career and in life generally.
So how can we, the listeners, apply this rule?
Start with being honest with yourself. Stop making excuses or telling yourself convenient lies. If you know you're not working hard enough, admit it to yourself and then decide to change it. Face your own reality.
And be honest with others.
Yes. Build a reputation for telling the truth. People respect and trust that.
What about the second part of the rule? Or at least, don't lie.
That's an important minimum standard. If, for some reason, you feel you absolutely cannot tell the whole truth in a situation, the rule suggests that, at the very least, you should refrain from actively telling a lie. Silence might be better than falsehood.
So the key takeaway is about honesty and self-awareness.
Yes. Success, confidence, and strong character come from honesty, from self-awareness, knowing yourself well, your strengths and weaknesses, and from taking responsibility, which is hard to do if you're not being truthful.
All right, rule number 9. This one is about how we interact with others. Assume that the person you are listening to might know something you don't.
This targets a very common human habit.
Which is?
Most people love to talk, but many are not very good at truly listening. People often think they already know everything, or at least everything important, so they don't really pay attention when others speak. They're just waiting for their turn to talk.
But this rule suggests a different approach.
A completely different mindset. It teaches us that literally everyone you talk to knows something that you don't. They have different experiences, different knowledge, different perspectives.
So if we listen carefully,
we can learn valuable lessons from almost anyone, regardless of their job, age, or background. There's always something to potentially learn if you're open to it.
Why is listening so important for our own growth?
Because listening is how we learn from others. If you operate under the assumption that you already know everything, you shut down the learning process. You stagnate. You can't grow if you're not open to new information.
And how does it affect relationships?
People deeply respect good listeners. When you truly listen to someone, you make them feel valued.
Valued means feeling important and appreciated.
Exactly. You make them feel heard and respected. That strengthens relationships immensely.
Can listening help with problem solving too?
Definitely. Sometimes the answers or solutions to your own problems are hidden in the experiences or insights that other people share. If you're not listening, you might miss them completely.
Let's try our two-people example again, both aiming for success.
Okay. Person A thinks he knows it all already. He rarely listens to advice from others. He might ignore good opportunities because he thinks he knows better. When things go wrong, he tends to blame circumstances or other people.
What happens to?
He basically stays stuck in his comfort zone, maybe complaining, waiting for success to magically find him. After a year, likely not much has changed. Same problems, same excuses, same level of achievement.
Now, person B.
Person B actively seeks wisdom.
Wisdom, that's like deep knowledge and good judgment, right?
Exactly. So, person B listens carefully to successful people, learns from their own mistakes and the mistakes of others. They take action, even if they fail sometimes, because they see failure as a learning opportunity.
What's the outcome for person B?
They constantly change, adapt, and improve. They keep moving forward. After a year, they're likely in a completely different place, more knowledgeable, more skilled, much closer to achieving their goals.
So there's a simple formula here.
You could say that.
Right.
Success often follows this pattern. Listen carefully. Learn from what you hear. Apply what you learn.
It sounds simple, but hard to do consistently if you think you know it all.
Exactly. Those who refuse to learn, who stay closed-minded, generally stay the same. But those who remain open-minded.
Open-minded means willing to consider new ideas or different perspectives.
Yes. Those are the people who truly change their lives for the better.
So how can we practice this rule daily?
It's about conscious effort in conversations. Try to listen more than you speak. Don't just wait to reply. Really try to understand the other person's point of view.
Ask questions.
Ask genuine questions to clarify and learn more. Be truly open to discovering something new from everyone you interact with.
So the key understanding is?
Understand that everyone, absolutely everyone, has something valuable they could potentially teach you. If you genuinely want to grow, you must be willing to humble yourself, listen attentively, and learn from others.
Okay, rule number 10 is about language. Be precise in your speech.
This highlights a common issue in how people communicate.
Which is?
Many people talk without much clarity. Clarity means being clear and easy to understand. Instead, they often speak in a vague way.
Vague means not clear, not specific, not definite.
Exactly. Their thoughts are fuzzy, unclear. They don't express themselves properly or specifically.
And what's the result of that kind of vague speech?
Peterson suggests that their lives can actually become like their speech.
Yeah.
Confusing, maybe disorganized, not well-planned or structured, and full of misunderstandings.
Misunderstandings are failures to understand something correctly.
Yes, because if you're not clear, people won't understand you and things go wrong.
So this rule teaches that precise language is important for a better life.
Yes. If you want to improve your life, if you want to solve problems effectively, you need to speak with precision.
Precision means being exact and accurate.
Exactly right. Using the right words to say exactly what you mean.
Why is this so important? How does precise speech help?
Well, for one, when you try to describe a problem clearly and precisely, you actually start to understand it better yourself. The act of articulation clarifies thought.
That makes sense. And how does it affect others?
When you speak clearly and precisely, people are more likely to respect you and trust you. They know what you mean. There's less confusion.
Does it help with goals too?
Definitely. When you express your goals with precision, making them specific and clear, you have a much better chance of actually achieving them. A vague goal is hard to aim for.
Let's use an analogy, like a doctor.
Good one. Imagine going to a doctor and after examining you, the doctor is diagnosing your problem. Diagnosing means identifying the nature of an illness or problem.
If the doctor just says, you're sick, that's not very helpful, is it?
Not at all, it's too vague. But if the doctor says, okay, you have a specific type of bacterial infection in your left lung, and you need to take this particular antibiotic, 500 milligrams, twice a day for 10 days.
Then you know exactly what the problem is and exactly what you need to do about it.
Precisely. The precision leads to effective action. And the same applies to life problems.
So instead of just saying, oh, my life is a mess, which is vague,
you should try to be precise. For example, I am struggling specifically with managing my time effectively, especially in the mornings, and I need to create a concrete schedule and stick to it.
Now you have a clear problem and a potential solution.
Exactly. You've moved from a vague complaint to a specific, solvable issue through precise language.
So how do we apply this in daily life? Goal setting.
Yes. When you set goals, be incredibly specific. Don't just say, I want to get rich. Say, I will save $500 from my salary every single month for the next year, and I will research and start a small online business focusing on specific niche by the end of this year. See the difference.
Much clearer. And for problem solving.
Same principle. Describe the problem with precision. Instead of, I feel bad today, try to specify. I am feeling anxious right now, I think, because I have that big presentation tomorrow and I haven't finished preparing for it.
So the overall impact.
Aim to speak in a way that makes your thoughts clear, strong, and effective. Use words carefully. The more precise your language, the clearer your thinking becomes, and the more powerful and focused your life can become.
We're almost there. Rule number 11. This one has a curious title. Do not bother children when they are skateboarding.
Yes, it sounds quite specific, doesn't it? But it's really a metaphor.
A metaphor for what?
It's about courage, about the importance of taking risks, and about how we grow as people.
How does skateboarding relate to that?
Think about kids skateboarding. They fall down a lot. They get bruised, maybe scraped. It's risky. But that's how they learn. That's how they get better and master a difficult skill.
So the rule is saying we shouldn't overprotect people from risks.
Exactly. Many people with good intentions try to protect themselves and others, especially children, from all risks, all difficulties, all potential pain. But life is risky. If you try to avoid all challenges, all possibilities of failure or hurt, you actually prevent growth. You stay weak.
So like children learning by falling and getting back up, adults need challenges too.
Absolutely. If you try to avoid every difficulty, every uncomfortable situation, you'll remain weak, fearful, and ultimately powerless.
Powerless meaning without strength or control.
Yes. You need to face challenges to build strength and competence. Growth happens outside your comfort zone.
So failure is part of the process.
An essential part. If you fail, you learn, you adjust, you try again. The key is not to avoid failure, but to learn from it and persist.
Should we just take any risk then?
Not necessarily reckless risks. Peterson talks about taking calculated risks.
What are calculated risks?
Those are risks that you've thought about carefully. You understand the potential downsides, but also the potential rewards, and you decide it's worth trying. It's planned risk-taking, not just random gambling. The more you challenge yourself in this way, the stronger and more capable you become.
Let's use our two young men example one last time.
Okay. Man A always plays it safe. Avoids any risk. Never speaks up in meetings if he's nervous. Never tries for a promotion if it seems too challenging. Avoids hard work whenever possible. Stays firmly in his comfort zone.
What happens to him over time?
He might feel safe, but he also becomes weak, maybe insecure.
Insecure, not feeling confident about himself.
Right. And maybe dependent, needing help or support from others because he hasn't developed his own strengths.
Now, man B.
Man B takes calculated risks. Maybe he starts a small business on the side, even knowing it might fail. He speaks up with his ideas even when he feels nervous. He takes on difficult projects to learn new skills.
What's the result for him?
Over time, by facing these challenges, he becomes strong, confident, and independent.
Independent, not needing help from others, self-reliant.
Exactly. He builds competence through challenge.
So who will likely be more successful and fulfilled?
Mandobi, because he embraces challenges. To embrace means to accept something willingly and enthusiastically. He accepts challenges instead of running away.
Can we think of another example? Maybe moving to a new country.
That's a powerful example. Think about people who immigrate, starting with nothing. They often don't know the language well, have no connections, face huge struggles. It's incredibly risky and difficult.
But what happens through that struggle?
Because they face those challenges head-on, meaning directly, and without avoiding them, they often grow immensely. They become stronger, wiser, more capable.
Capable, again, able to do things well.
Yes. Now contrast that with someone who never takes any risks, stays in the same town, same job, same routine forever, avoiding anything difficult.
What might their life become?
It risks becoming stagnant, maybe boring, weak, and potentially feeling meaningless.
Meaningless, without purpose or value.
Right. The challenges, the risks often bring meaning and growth.
So the call to action from this rule is,
Stop trying to avoid all challenges and discomfort. See them as opportunities.
embrace failure as part of learning.
Yes. If you fail, learn the lesson and try again. Don't let the fear of falling stop you from trying to skateboard, metaphorically speaking.
So if you want a strong, powerful, successful life,
Stop running from challenges. Step towards them. That's where growth lies.
and here we are, the final rule, number 12. Pet a cat when you encounter one on the street. This sounds lovely, but maybe a bit strange after all the serious rules.
It does sound lighter, but it carries a very deep and important message. It's about finding moments of beauty, grace, and peace, especially when life is difficult.
Because life is often difficult, right?
Absolutely. Life inevitably involves suffering. You will face stress, sadness, loss, pain. It's part of the deal of being human. No one escapes it entirely.
But this rule suggests finding small joys even then.
Exactly. Even in the darkest, hardest times, Peterson suggests there are still small moments of beauty or connection available. Maybe it's seeing a cat and pausing to appreciate its simple existence. Maybe it's the warmth of the sun on your face, a kind word from a stranger, a beautiful piece of music.
These little things, they matter.
They matter immensely. They can be little anchors, reminding you that even amidst the suffering, life still holds beauty, goodness, and is ultimately worth living. It's about noticing the silver lining.
What's a silver lining?
Silver lining is a hopeful or positive aspect in an otherwise difficult or sad situation, like the bright edge around a dark cloud.
So it comes back to focus again. What we pay attention to.
Yes. Your focus can dramatically change your experience of hardship.
How so? Let's use two perspectives.
Okay. Person A is going through a very tough time. They focus only on the pain, the difficulty, the negative. They see nothing good anywhere. They feel overwhelmed, maybe hopeless.
Now, person B facing the same hardship.
Person B acknowledges the pain, it's real. But they also make a conscious effort to notice the small, good things that still exist. They pause to listen to a favorite song, they watch a beautiful sunset, they savor a simple cup of tea, they pet the cat.
Does this change the hardship?
It doesn't make the hardship disappear, but it helps them endure it. It provides moments of relief, perspective, and strength. It helps them stay strong and keep moving forward.
So who is likely to recover better or faster?
Likely person B, because they are finding sources of light and resilience even within the darkness. They are actively seeking out the good, however small.
This applies to big successes too, right? People who achieve great things often faced great difficulties.
Absolutely. Many successful people have stories of terrible struggles, poverty, illness, failure, loss. A key part of the resilience was often the ability to find meaning or small joys that gave them the strength to keep going when things seemed impossible.
And for our English learners,
think about the learning process. It can be really hard sometimes. You feel frustrated.
Frustrated means feeling annoyed or upset because you can't do something you want to do.
Yes. So the student feels frustrated. But then one day, maybe they watch an English movie and suddenly understand a whole conversation they wouldn't have understood before. Or a stranger understands their question perfectly.
That small success feels amazing.
It does. That small moment of connection or understanding, that's like petting the cat. It gives you the confidence and motivation to keep going, even though the overall journey is still long and challenging.
So how do we apply this final rule in our lives?
Cultivate the mindset. No matter how hard things get, actively look for small moments of peace, beauty, or joy. They are always there if you look.
Take breaks when struggling?
Yes. If you're overwhelmed, step back, take a break, breathe deeply, and consciously appreciate something small and good around you. Your senses, nature, a small kindness.
So the final conclusion is,
Remember that even in the midst of pain and suffering, there is still beauty and goodness to be found in life. Paying attention to these small things, appreciating them, can be a surprisingly powerful way to help you survive and even thrive during the worst of times. It's about finding grace in everyday moments. #tag outro.
wow. Okay, so we've covered all 12 rules. That was quite a journey. It seems the path to a stronger, better life. Well, it's not easy.
It never was easy, and it probably never will be. It demands real effort, real discipline.
But you basically have two choices, right? You can stay where you are, maybe complaining, making excuses, feeling stuck.
Or
Yeah.
you can decide to take control, take responsibility, and start actively creating the life you truly want to live.
Because the truth is, nobody's just going to come and rescue you, are they?
That's a hard truth, but a crucial one. If you want success, if you want confidence, strength, happiness, you have to build it yourself, day by day, choice by choice.
And the world responds differently to people who take responsibility.
It seems to. The world tends to respect those who take ownership. The world often listens more closely to those who speak with clarity and conviction. The world tends to reward those who take calculated risks and commit to growth.
And the world remembers those who find light even in dark times, like petting the cat.
Exactly. So the question we leave you with is this: what kind of person will you choose to be?
Will you continue living the same way, maybe repeating the same patterns, the same mistakes?
Or will you take these powerful lessons, these rules, and use them to consciously change your life, starting today?
If you truly want that better future, the time to start isn't tomorrow, it's right now.
Start small, perhaps. Start by trying to speak with more precision. Start by taking one small step towards a challenge instead of running from it. Start by noticing one beautiful thing today, even if it's just for a moment.
Because ultimately, your life is in your hands. Nobody else can live it for you.
But if you decide, right now, today, to take control, to take responsibility,
Then truly nothing in this world can stop you from making progress. So take that first step.
the future is waiting. And it really does belong to those who are ready and willing to fight for it, to build it themselves.